Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Lauren. I'm one of your registered dietitians from the Livea in Roseville. And today we'll be talking about how to navigate the food at the Minnesota State Fair while also still having fun. I know there's a lot of tradition, nostalgia, and good smells that all come together at the state fair. And we'll make a plan together today of how to enjoy the fair in a healthy way. And by healthy, I don't mean boring. There's a lot of creativity and artistry that goes into the foods that we'll be talking about today. And we'll also talk about some strategies to enjoy some of the more indulgent foods at the state fair in a healthy way. We'll go over some healthy foods to look for and to choose at the fair. We'll talk about how to make sure that your choices are healthier choices. We'll talk a little bit about the attitude and the healthy mindset that you'll want to go into the fair with. And we'll talk about some other ways to enjoy the fair that aren't totally food centric. First off, there's a surprising number of healthier foods at the state fair. I know that we think about everything on a stick and we think about a lot of deep fried foods. Those deep fried foods are going to almost always include a breading. So a food that's deep fried is going to not only have that extra breading that's not very nutritious, it's also that breading is going to absorb a lot of extra oil. So that will add a lot of fat and calories to the food. So some healthier things to look for would be foods that are grilled or roasted or sauteed, just like when you go to a restaurant and you look at the menu. You know that the healthier, lower fat options are going to be grilled, roasted, sauteed, broiled. A few examples you might find at the fair this year. Brand new, there's roasted cauliflower. So you can look for that. It comes in that fun sort of popcorn looking container, but it's a great vegetable and it looks like it has some really good seasoning on it as well. Look for grilled meats on a stick. A lot of vendors have that as an option. Some iconic choices might be the pork chop or the turkey leg, steak bites, kebabs, grilled shrimp on a stick. All good options, all fit with the on a stick theme, but much more nutritious than a deep fried food on a stick. If you're looking for something kind of exotic and adventurous, look for the sauteed alligator. Now, even though that's sauteed in a garlic olive oil, it's still, like we said, if it's sauteed without a breading, it's not going to absorb so much of that oil. So it'll definitely be less fat than you would find in a deep fried type of meat on a stick. It's also a good idea to look for foods made with healthier ingredients. They might not be perfectly on your plan, but they might have some healthier ingredients in the dish. So a couple examples would be the Northwood salad on a stick. Now, I believe that one comes with a serving of wild rice. So it might be an option to see if you can get that without the rice, and that'll bring down the carbohydrate and calorie content to make that a lighter, healthier option. Hummus bowls, again, a little bit higher in fat, but still made with healthy ingredients. There's a lot of fiber in hummus. Frozen grapes are a good option. I know those aren't on everyone's meal plan, but they are still a lighter, healthier option than a lot of other choices. Kind of a nice treat. Beef jerky can be a healthier option. And then fruits and vegetables from the produce exchange. The produce exchange is something that is well known for having really delicious fruits and vegetables. So even though that's a healthier choice, again, that's definitely not going to be boring, definitely going to be full of flavor. You can also look for healthier beverages. Sometimes when we have something to sip, that helps us feel satisfied without having to snack as much. So we're staying hydrated and we're still having something that's kind of a treat, even though it's a healthier treat. So you can look for sugar-free lemonade. You can look for cold brew coffee or iced tea. I tried to pick out some cool beverages because I know it's usually hot at the state fair. Any of these would be good, healthy options since you're not getting that added sugar. You're just getting a flavorful cold beverage. Sometimes even if something isn't offered or advertised as a healthy option, there's some questions you can ask your vendor to figure out if you can get that served to you in a healthier way. Speaking of questions, if anybody has questions throughout the presentation, feel free to type those into the question and answer box, and I will do my very best to address as many of those as possible at the end. But if you are wanting to see if you can get the healthiest choice possible, some good questions to ask vendors would be asking if you can get that food served without the starch serving. Um, Even if they don't advertise it as a low carbohydrate choice, see if you can get it without the rice or maybe without the bun. Maybe you can get the kebab or the taco without the tortilla. Maybe you can get the burger without the bun. So that way you can still enjoy that iconic, delicious fair food with a lower carbohydrate presentation of that same special dish. Even if the vendor doesn't advertise that that's an option, a lot of times they can still accommodate that request, especially if it's something as simple as leaving the tortilla off the plate. You can also ask your vendor, how is this food prepared? So is the food going to be breaded and fried, or is it going to be grilled? If it's something like a stuffed pepper, what is that stuffed with? Finding out if that's stuffed with a meat or if it's stuffed with breadcrumbs. Definitely be a little bit healthier if it's stuffed full of vegetables and protein rather than it's stuffed full of a starch. So usually your vendor can tell you what that dish is made of. A lot of times you can find a smaller size of one of your favorite fair foods or beverages. One example might be beer. A lot of times that comes in a tall size or a really tall size. And if you don't specify what size you want, they tend to give you the bigger one. So that's something you can ask if there's a smaller size available to see if they can accommodate a smaller portion. If you look at a lot of these iconic fair foods, they often come with a sauce. A lot of those sauces can add a lot of sugar and salt and fat. And sometimes those sauces actually cover up the flavor of the food. So give it a try and see if you like your favorite fair foods, maybe with less sauce or without the sauce at all. You might be surprised at how much the flavor of the food itself really shines through without a sauce covering it up. Foods to avoid. And I mean this in all seriousness, avoid foods that you do not like. I know one of the things that's important to remember is that sometimes we choose a food because we feel like it's nostalgia. Maybe we grew up eating it or our family got it at the fair every year. Maybe it's something that we feel like we don't want to miss out. But I'd encourage you to pick one or two indulgent foods and prioritize those over other foods. One example, one way to think of it is pick one food that you really love, that's your absolute favorite, and set that as your gold standard. So for example, let's say fried pickles are your absolute favorite thing. You don't want to miss those. You really love them. Maybe choose those as your gold standard food and compare all other foods to that gold standard. So if you don't love some of those other fair foods as much as you love your absolute favorite thing, then you know that you've made the best choice. You don't need to eat those other foods that you don't love as much. Really prioritize the ones that you like the best. And don't feel bad about enjoying something in a healthy way that you really like. So if you pick your gold standard food, enjoy it, don't feel bad about it, but then pass on the foods that maybe aren't as special or aren't as important to you. It's also really helpful to have smaller amounts if you share with the people that you went to the fair with. So if you're going with a close friend or family member, picking one or two things that you enjoy so that you can have a couple bites of that and then pass that on to your companions, that can really help with keeping the portions down as well. Another way to think about that same concept is maybe creating a food budget. If you look through the Minnesota State Fair Food Finder, that allows you to search through all the foods and all the vendors, and you can pick out a couple of your favorite things. And picking out ahead and making a plan of what you're going to eat ahead of time can help you not to get waylaid by some of those attractive foods that pop up along the way. Some people even find it helpful to just bring cash. That way you set a limit of how much food you can buy. And if you leave your credit card at home, when the cash is gone, that means you're done eating. Having a healthy mindset is something that we talk about a lot at Livea, and I think that can be tricky to cultivate. So I have a few specific tips for how to go into the fair with a healthy attitude. We want to go in with an attitude of moderation, and that means that a little bit doesn't have to mean all or nothing. I think a lot of times we think that if we overindulge, we've totally ruined our whole day, and it doesn't matter what we do one way or the other. But the truth is that food and calories will keep adding up. And making the next right choice can make a difference in the number that you see on the scale and the way that you feel at the end of the day and the next day. So taking a minute to reframe those phrases of, you know what, I ate a little bit too much, but I can still choose my foods a little bit more carefully this afternoon or this evening. Or I, chose a couple more fried things than I intended to, but I can still choose the water or the iced tea as my next choice to kind of satisfy my need for something to eat or drink for the rest of my day. Another thing that people ask me a lot is, doesn't the walking at the fair help to burn off some of those calories that we ate? And I think it's important to remember for the fair that, or any special occasion, that we can't out-exercise a bad diet. Walking is good for us. It does help create a healthy balance. But to put it in perspective, a steady walk for about 30 minutes might use the same number of calories as a quarter cup of plain cheese curds. So that means quite a bit less than we see in the picture there. And without not including the ketchup, walking without stopping briskly for 30 minutes would only use up a small amount of the calories from those cheese curds. And that, I think, just goes to show the importance of healthy portion sizes and really prioritizing which foods are most important to us and which foods we don't mind passing on. Also important to remember too that our day-to-day choices are the things that matter most to both our health, how we feel, and our weight. Making a really, really great choice all the other days of the week is going to give you more benefit than being 100% perfect for one day at the fair. So give yourself some grace if you don't eat perfectly the way that you planned at the fair. And remember that making really great choices on a day-to-day basis is going to benefit you the most. As you're reframing your thoughts, if you find that you didn't perfectly do everything you meant to do, a friend of mine says, just because I chipped one of the teacups doesn't mean I have to break all the china. So using that as a metaphor can be helpful to remember if you feel like you ate too much and it doesn't matter, but to remember that the good choices that you make going forward do matter for your success. Another part of going to the fair with a healthy attitude is immersing yourself in iconic fair experiences that aren't the food. So whether you're interested in animals or history, health and sustainability, the dogs, the lumberjack shows, the music shows, those are all really great special ways to enjoy the fair, to be fully present, to enjoy exciting things that you probably don't do every day and make the fair a really special experience without feeling like you're missing out. All of these experiences won't interfere with your meal plan or your weight goals. So these are really great ways to enjoy your fair experience and not have to feel like the food is the main focus of the day. These are just a few of my resources. It does include the website for the Minnesota State Fair if anyone wanted to look up the State Fair Food Finder. But now I'll see if anybody had any questions. So I do have one question. Is an elk burger without the bun also a good option? Absolutely. The elk burger is, elk is a good lean meat choice. I believe that that's on your lean 2 options on your meal plan. So that means that it's one of the lowest in fat. So elk burger without the bun would be a really great choice for a lean protein. Thank you so much for that question. Does anyone have any other questions? All right. Well, that's all I have for today. If you think of any questions about eating healthy at the Minnesota State Fair or any other scenarios, questions about food, nutrition, you can reach out to me. I'm at roseville@livea.com, or you can reach out to your consultant at your own Livea center. Oh, someone else said there's one more question. If you're choosing to indulge in a few more items than usual, should we not eat our Livea meals? That's a good question. People ask me that one a lot too. What I would recommend for that one is we still want to create the same balance of protein and carbohydrates throughout our day, even if some of the foods are a little bit more indulgent. It's a good idea to eat at least, well, depending on what time you're going to the fair, at least a couple of your Livea meals before you go so that you're not so ravenous when you get there. That can help with curbing your appetite and help you to prioritize the foods that you're going to be choosing. If you get to the end of the day and you're absolutely too full to eat anything else, I would definitely encourage honoring your hunger and fullness cues, letting your body decide how much food it can handle and use that to make the best decision about how much total food that you're going to eat in a day. Somebody asked, how are the turkey legs? I haven't tried that one myself, so I can't speak to the flavor, but that would be a really good protein source, particularly if you take the skin off, that would be a lean protein choice. Oh, someone also says there have been free apples in the horticulture building in the past. So that would be another good way to find a healthy option. And from what I've heard from all of the produce at the state fair is very flavorful. Thank you so much for those questions. Does anybody have any other questions? All right. Well, again, thank you everyone so much. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for your questions. This webinar will be recorded. So if you missed anything or wanted to take some more notes, you'll be able to find that on our website within the next couple of days. It'll be under the resources tab and you click on education. You can find all of our recorded webinars there. And if you have any questions, you can always call, email, or message your consultants from your Livea Center on your app. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great afternoon.